And welcome to this week's episode of the UFO Show here on the Area 51 Sports Network. I am your host, Adam. And as you guys can tell, our other host, Andy, is not here today. And you might be a little bit confused why we're doing this on Tuesday or Thursday. Basically, we are very busy this week. Andy, unfortunately, couldn't make it today. So I asked my co-host from THW's What's Crackin', Sean Raggio, to join us. So, Sean, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. That intro music was awesome. I was headbanging the whole time. Like this everything looks great. I'm really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
And for people who don't know, Sean and I just finished wrapping up our weekly episode of What's Crackin' maybe 5 minutes before this. So make sure to check that out. It will be coming out tomorrow. But as you know, here we talk betting and we talk sports betting. So before we get going, make sure to head over to area51sportsnetwork.com/betting. There you'll get a link to our to our partner bet99.com. Right now, if you use the link, whatever you put into the website up to $600 you get back as a bet back bonus. So make sure to check that out. Okay, so we have a busy schedule once again with NBA and NHL talk. We're going to go through some NBA games here before they start because they are starting in the next couple minutes. Before we start, Sean, you mentioned that you are following the Miami Heat. They won decisively in game one and now are the favorites in game two. Do you think Atlanta and more importantly, Trae Young can bounce back in game two?
You know, it's always good to have, superstar power or star power on your team, but it's a little something different when you have everyone being able to contribute. And I feel the Heat, it's not like you can eliminate one specific player and especially in crunch time and take away their offense when so many guys from the Heat can contribute. I would definitely look at the Heat on this one. I like Tyler Hero. I like Bam Adebayo, and I think the Heat. I think I took the Heat in 5 on my own personal picks, so I could see them pulling this one out.
I feel like all of these series in the NBA this year are going to go like 5 games, except for that Boston series. So I think taking Miami to sweep the first 2 at home is a solid pick, but yeah, you don't get much value on the betting line at minus 375. Okay, so a game that was actually an upset in the first set. Minnesota upset the Memphis Grizzlies in the first game. They are the underdogs once again at plus 220. Do you think Memphis kind of takes that first loss and tries to stick it to Minnesota today?
I think it'll be tough going up against Cat, but I think John Morant is a game breaker. I think he can make this. I think so. I think Ja is someone who can take over a game. Now I don't know if he could do it over the course of a series, multiple series, but I could see them pulling it out.
The thing about Ja is that he kind of, and I know, like, okay, before I make this I'm not saying that he is LeBron James, but he kind of reminds me of that LeBron James in the early years where his supporting cast was like the first time when LeBron went to the finals, like his supporting cast was okay, but it was LeBron James who kind of led them. This is kind of how I see Memphis. Like John Morant, his supporting cast is okay, but if they want to do anything, it's 100% him. Like, yes, like Steven Adams is pretty old, and like you got Kyle Anderson who's okay, Desmond Baines who's like okay, 2 Canadians and Dylan Brooks and Brandon Clark who are like good. You know, Jaren Jackson's pretty good, but like they don't really have that second star yet.
That's why I think he's going to burn out eventually. Like you can't rely on him to get you all the way there because, as you said, he's not LeBron. But to steal a game or two with his ability, I think definitely that could happen.
Yeah,
I agree.
And Memphis was a really good team in the during the year. Like let's not like they're not like a 7th seed going in. They are a good team. So, but like it's one of those where it's kind of like you're not 100. He needs some help basically.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump in here to the last game of the night in the NBA, and that is the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Phoenix Suns.
All right.
So this one, once again, it is a Phoenix is minus 550. The New Orleans Pelicans are plus 375, which essentially means that they are getting the betting odds say that there is a like 0% chance that the New Orleans Pelicans are going to pull off a upset or even a game anywhere in this series.
Yeah, and I mean, Chris Paul, it's hard to root against him at this point, 36 years old, and you want to see him win. You know, that's I've been kind of pulling for the Heat. I identify as a Trailblazers fan, and I'm kind of a Knicks fan in the sense that they share the garden with the Rangers, which are sitting over my right shoulder over here. But I'm also in all sports a fan of the storylines. In hockey, a couple years ago with the Blues, I was pulling for Boston because a guy from my alma mater was on their team, but at the same time, those storylines were incredible. And seeing Chris Paul finally win is a storyline that I can 100% get behind. Now, I could have this wrong, but Mikal Bridges, did he just win Defensive Player of the Year?
They haven't announced it yet. He was nominated.
Okay, well, that's a big one there. And then Devin Booker is a solid play too. And I know, as we kind of alluded to, I can't really see the Suns not pulling out of this one at this point.
Yeah, I think that the Suns are like it's the Suns are on a path to the championship.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know if you watched last week where we had Jay Bowman on and he talked a little basketball. He thinks it's going to be the Suns and the 76ers.
Ooh.
Or the Suns and the Milwaukee Bucks. So like out of the West, I don't think like the only team that really could scare in the NBA, like could scare the Suns, I feel like is the Golden State Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, like the Suns are just like Golden State. Yeah, they have they have, the big four in Wiggins, Poole. Well, they have the big five now, I guess, in Wiggins, Poole, Green, Thompson, and Curry. But that bench for Phoenix is just like the bench could start for another NBA team. So yeah, like Phoenix is definitely one of those teams to watch going into the finals.
And you forget their secret weapon. He's a Hall of Famer in regards to Shaqtin' a Fool. It's JaVale McGee.
Yes.
Gotta throw some love for the memes out there.
Exactly. So let's jump into a little bit of the puck, the hockey. So we got quite a few games on the sked tonight, but we'll start with a couple games that are in progress right now. Right now, the Minnesota Wild, 11 minutes into the first, are up 1-0 on Montreal. Montreal is plus 290 to come back. Do you think Montreal with Carey Price and net is that a big enough boost that they may be able to come back in this game?
I don't think so, and I think that's because just the offensive firepower that the Wild have. If it was against a different team, maybe I might honestly take Montreal to come back against Carolina right now, another playoff team. But I don't think so. I think that the grit that the Wild can play with, guys like Foligno, Jordan Greenway, etc., and mixed with the skill of the Zuccarello, the Kaprizov, I think it's just too much for at this point for the Canadians to handle. And yes, it's great that Carey Price is back for so many reasons, but he's still, he's fresh, but he hasn't seen much game action since that run to the finals. So it's good that he's fresh, but you want those game reps, and maybe not one of your first couple of reps to be against Minnesota too.
That's a very good point. Let's jump into the team that you're a big fan of, the New York Rangers here. They are right now playing the Winnipeg Jets. They're about 13 minutes in. It's a 0-0 game.
Yep.
So Rangers are favored at minus 223. I'm guessing you're not taking the Jets in this one.
I'm not taking the Jets because they, they I've said in a couple different places that the Dallas Stars are the most confusing team in hockey. I think the Jets are just a team that for some reason I don't have a lot of faith in. And I feel like the hockey gods are going to hear that and then have it come right back at me and shove it down my throat. But the X factor in this game to me is going to be Rangers 5-on-5 play. If they're if Winnipeg's staying out of the box and the Rangers are lose the 5-on-5 battle, Winnipeg's going to take it all day. You can only. I think there is a legitimate conversation for Igor Shesterkin to get the Hart. I see he's in net right now. I have the game up myself, but you can only reasonably rely on your goaltender for so long, as evidenced by what's his name, Henrik Lundqvist's entire career and their run to the Cup Finals. That's not just a theme for tonight. Honestly, those watching, be sure to look at that come the playoffs, because if the Rangers' power play gets neutralized and they're still a scary 5-on-5 team, it's definitely going to be a storyline to watch.
Okay, so we'll jump to your, I guess, your crosstown rivals here, the New York Islanders versus the Florida Panthers. I believe the Panthers are on a 10-game win streak.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
As of last I checked, which was Sunday night, yes.
Yeah. So the Islanders are at plus 155, which means that they are the underdogs. Do you think the streak gets broken tonight?
Have they started yet? Do we have a score check on that?
It is just getting underway. They're going to start in about 4 minutes.
Wow. The Islanders were the team I took to win the Cup this year. I had faith in them then.
The Islanders were the team I picked to make it to the Eastern Conference Final again.
Okay.
So I was up there with you.
This is a tough one for me because I don't see myself as someone who just hates on the Islanders because I've, grown up a Rangers fan. As I think evidenced by my objectivity to pick them to win the Cup. But it's known they're a team that's a very defense first team, and that the offense can suffer. And I think that Florida is just too offensively powerful. If it was a different opponent, we'd have a bit more of a conversation. But Florida can sneeze and 7 goals are on the board. Especially now, they've added Claude Giroux. But I really don't want to be that guy taking all favorite teams. But we're looking at teams that are either just in the bottom or inconsistent, or in the Islanders' case, they can't score at a clip that's enough to outscore Florida, because they've struggled defending too, despite being a defensive first team.
Yeah, I don't think the Islanders are going to be the Florida streak busters tonight. So, they're just, it's like they have no weakness. Even their defense, like Gustav Forsling has scored in the last 3 games or something. Like they're like, where do you? Yeah, let's just if Florida goes perfect the rest of the season, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a lot of questions. I don't know about a lot of questions, but I've heard questions raised due to Ekblad's injury. But you just said it. Forsling scored in 3 straight games. Now, over a 7-game playoff series, obviously you want Aaron Ekblad for a plethora of reasons. But it's a good sign that they're on this 10-game winning streak without when he was healthy, a Norris contender. I would jump on that hill. Easy.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that one. Okay, so let's jump into some games that haven't started yet, including the Calgary Flames and Nashville Predators. Calgary's at minus 120, but this is a game that Nashville desperately needs to win. Like when we say desperate, a team, they're on a major slide right now. And it's allowed other teams like Dallas, like Vancouver, like Vegas to actually catch up to them. Because right now they are in the second wild card, or they're in the first wild card spot, but they're tied with Dallas. And if I was right, they allowed 8 goals against St. Louis the other night. Calgary just looks unstoppable in the West, though.
Who's home?
It is Nashville, if I believe. Yeah, Nashville's home.
Wow. I'm gonna have to go with who I have called, and I think this was more in a group chat than anywhere on the record. So I guess this is me going on the record. The most fun team in the NHL. That is the Smashville Predators. Now, they can hit you out of the building. They could fight you. They could beat you up. They could score. They're fast. If you say Soros is on his game, I think, Duchesne's having an unreal year for himself. Forsberg's having a great year. Roman Josi is he's playing incredible. If they can shut down that top line, shut down the Gaudreau, the Kachuk, I like Nashville, especially because they're playing desperate, as you said. Yeah, they've been on a slide, but what else what else is a catalyst to drive you through the end of the season to where you need to win these games than beating I think the only team in the Pacific Division that's clinched, as far as I remember. Again, I last looked on Sunday, beating them at home in front of that crazy crowd. That if there was a list of stadiums I could go to tomorrow, that would be one of the top places I would go and watch a game.
I've just always wanted to go to Nashville in general. I just feel like it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm a big music guy. I've played, whether it was in ensembles and stuff in school, saxophone. I played guitar for years, and I love music, country, rock, ED, whatever it is. I would, even for the music alone, I would go there. But as much as I want to go there, nice weather, I'd have to go and couple that with a hockey game 150%. So I'm for it with all. I would love to get down to Nashville. Do have a friend who lives there. Shout out Jill.
Now, this is a game that there are two upsets tonight that I think could happen. The first one is the Boston Bruins and St. Louis Blues. Boston's at plus 110. St. Louis is at minus 132. While St. Louis is battling for home ice advantage with Minnesota, I feel like Boston may be the more desperate team today. They are the underdogs because they are on the road, but they're not like huge underdogs. They're only at plus 110. But I just feel like Boston, they want to, they're fighting for that so that they don't have to play either Florida or Carolina. Mm-hmm. So in the first round, I feel like Boston is one of those underdogs to watch tonight.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like, you have those top three teams in each division. The only three teams in the Eastern Conference playoff picture under 100 points is Pittsburgh and Boston at 97 and Washington at 96. But I feel like Pittsburgh's a different story because Jari's out. I feel like Boston and Washington, everyone's kind of been on the fence about. So I definitely agree with you. I feel like for them to have a good end, final 7 games of the season would change the perception of them going into the playoffs. So I'm with you on that, in that I think Boston could pull this out against St. Louis. I know St. Louis has been on a tear of late. If I recall, I could be wrong, but if I recall, they've been one of the best penalty kill teams in the league recently. And if I'm correct on that, then Boston's going to have to win it at 5-on-5. And to me, if they lose because of a power play, but they outplay them 5-on-5, kind of like what I was talking about with the Rangers, I think that's a tremendous sign for the Bruins, and I'll pull them on that one as well. I'll jump on that underdog band on the underdog.
And then the other one I feel like could be a upset today is the LA Kings and Anaheim Ducks. So LA is the favorite here, but remember, this is an LA team that is without Drew Doughty. They're without Sean Walker. They're without Mikey Anderson. Cal Peterson and Jonathan Quick have just not been playing well lately. And I just feel like that is, even though the Ducks are at plus 145, I feel like that the Ducks are going to try to spoil, their California rivals' chance at making the playoffs here.
Yeah. I feel like the Ducks are a better team than their record says as well. They're up there in my rankings of most fun teams to watch because of a guy named Trevor Zegras. Now, really quick, I'm just looking. They haven't had the best last 10 games, just 3 wins in those last 10 games, the Ducks. And the Kings are definitely, I think, getting a bit desperate considering, Vancouver is climbing and climbing fast, 6-game winning streak. Vegas has lost 2 straight, but they've won 6 of their last 10. So this is such an important game for the Kings. But as you said, they've lost guys. Doughty, I think, aside from his play, just as an emotional leader, is the biggest loss there. I could, especially because Getzlaf is coming to an end here. Is that game in Anaheim? Well, I mean they're both in Los Angeles.
They're in
Really,
Anaheim.
I could see the Ducks pulling this one out. I feel if the Kings kind of keep sliding, only 4 wins in their last 10 games, things are going to get crazy interesting, even more than they are down the stretch now for the Pacific Division, the wild card. So I'm going to go with the Ducks purely because, well, not purely, 2 reasons. Because of those injuries and Ryan Getzlaf. Guys you're going to want to play for that guy. Aside from the obvious reasons he's your captain, just the emotion, even for seeing Corey Perry, if you see a guy on a completely different team still getting that emotional in an interview, not even behind closed doors, that just shows how much Getzlaf means to guys. You're going to want to go through a wall. You're going to want to line up 3 walls just to go through them for Ryan Getzlaf for their final 5 games of the season.
And yeah, one thing I want to point out about the LA Kings is that they've allowed 5 or more goals in 3 of their last 10 games. That came against the Kraken, put 6 up on them a couple weeks ago. Minnesota put 6 up on them, and then they're coming off that Colorado game where they lost 9-3.
Yeah, and
and they only seem to be able to beat non-playoff teams. So Anaheim is a non-playoff team here, but
they're a better non-playoff team in my opinion. I think also, and the wording of this, I think I worded this right. Proper emotion trumps talent, in my opinion. Granted, as we said, the Kings are kind of depleted from a lot of guys right now, but it's kind of similar to momentum. Momentum is essentially emotion, right? And if you have that proper emotion, it could very well take over for relative lack of talent. I think it was, I'll stop there because I can't exactly remember the example I wanted to bring up.
Yeah, listen, anytime you get a chance, if you're LA and you're playing, I don't know, Minnesota, it's like, whatever, we have no skin in this game. We don't really care too much who wins. But if you're LA or if you're Anaheim and you're playing LA, that is a whole different story here.
Mm-hmm.
So in his career, Ryan Getzlaf, he has 59 points in 83 games against LA. So they play twice more this year. So that he will want to really stick it to his rivals.
Yeah. And I don't, I thought I had something there. I'm just kind of looking at the standings and seeing there's even the Oilers aren't relatively safe. And I mean, they've won 8 of their last 10 games, points in 9 of 10. So it's really anyone's game except for the Calgary Flames, who already clinched a playoff spot in that division. Anyone except the Seattle Kraken and the San Jose Sharks, and the Ducks are up as well. But that was more reflective of my thoughts on the Kings and how they really aren't safe right now at all.
And we'll wrap this one up today with the Vancouver Canucks and Ottawa Senators. Ottawa played last night against the Kraken and lost. I think they only registered 12 total shots
Yeah.
Um,
Brutal.
I wouldn't put money on this game. Do you think Ottawa has a bounce back game in them, or do you think it's just blinders up till the finish line?
Well, I'll say one thing. I love their tenacity. I love Brady Kachuk. I love anyone named Kachuk. I over their last excuse me, they've won 5 out of their last 10 games, the Sens, but they're averaging just under 30 shots per game. Meanwhile, they're giving up 32. So if with not the greatest goaltending right now, uh, you're gonna get outshot. I think they're gonna get peppered by Vancouver, and I think Vancouver's gonna win this game. Vancouver's just I am so impressed with the Canucks. Everything that's been going on, I can honestly see them getting into the playoffs, especially because who knows what's going on with Vegas right now, and excuse me, and because the Kings not looking as sharp, especially I've said especially 47 and a half times today. Wow. I'm going to say it one more. Especially if Vancouver wins and the Ducks win. That the Vancouver arguably has more to play for than the Kings, in my opinion. I think the Kings weren't necessarily supposed to be here, and they're getting riddled with injuries to the point where you can very much say we got hit with the injury bug at the wrong time. Whereas I know we've heard all about Vancouver's got some free agency questions and stuff coming up. Who knows if Boudreau's going to stay? There's so many questions, and I think that to miss the playoffs may be more detrimental for Vancouver than the Kings.
Yeah. Okay, so we've hit that time of this show where we're gonna wrap things up. So, as we do every time, Sean, why don't you go out and throw out all of your socials where people can find you, things like that.
Wow. Oh, all right. Let's see. You can find me on both Twitter and Instagram at Raggio9124. That's Raggio 9124. I think on TikTok as well, but the content isn't that great there yet. We might be working on that. And find me at thehockeywriters.com. You could just search my name in Google, Sean Raggio. Be sure to check out at What's Crackin' Show on Twitter with my guy over here, Adam K. Blatt. Follow him on Twitter too if you haven't already, and you really should be, honestly. This guy puts out great content, whether it's the Canucks draft prospects or the Kraken. So be sure to interact as well.
One last question here, though. What does the 9124 stand for?
What does the 9124? So I have kind of 2 hockey numbers I switch between for roller and deck, 74 and 91, purely because I put that number on myself when I was playing NHL on PlayStation one day, and I thought it looked good beneath my name. And 24 is for my forever favorite hockey player, Ryan Callahan. Played the game the right way. He was 5'10", and he'd hit anybody, he'd fight anyone he had to. He would block shots, and it's probably what shortened his career. I think the Bolts won the year after he stopped playing. I think, if I'm right there. So he played the game the right way, and he's how I try to model my game after. Granted, it's not on ice, but yeah, homage to him.
Ryan Callahan, yeah, great, great player for the New York Rangers. I remember he was a pain when during the 2010 and 2014 Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And then he wrapped up his season last. I think he was traded to Ottawa at one point or something.
Oh yeah,
to end his career.
Yeah, I think that was it. I remember. I think that was more so just the contract. I think he was on LTIR at that point. Yeah, I remember the trade to the Bolts. I was crying in my math class. Still I was younger at that point. It still hit a lot harder. But yeah, and he's got a great personality. I've heard him interviewed before, and he's a funny dude. New York native too, up from Rochester, I'm pretty sure. So big love.
And arguably, he only played 757 games. That's a guy who probably could have played more if injuries didn't play a factor.
Yeah, but that's part of what made his game great, though. He's the epitome of a player who's, it may shorten his career, but he's plays the game the right way. He's the ultimate teammate, and that's why I was named Captain Cali forever, man. That's my guy.
Yeah. So thank you once again for tuning in this week. We will be back again next week in the usual time slot on Thursday. So in between there, if you are making bets, make sure to head over to area51sportsnetwork.com/betting. Use that code to get the $600 up to $600 off of initial deposit. So whatever you put into the site, you get back as a bet back bonus. Make sure to check that out. For Sean, I'm Adam, and thank you once again for watching this week's episode of the UFO Show.